According to the U.S. Surgeon General, we're currently facing what many experts call a loneliness epidemic. Nearly 1 out of 4 adults say they feel completely disconnected from the people around them. But your situation is a little different. You didn't slowly drift away from people. You made a decision. One day you saw someone's name pop up on your phone, and instead of answering like you always did, you paused and thought, "Not today, not anymore." And here's the strange part nobody talks about. You didn't feel lonely afterward. You didn't feel broken. If anything, you felt calmer than you had in years. So when did that change happen? When did you become the kind of person who walks away from certain people and doesn't feel the need to explain it? Because the truth is, you weren't always like this. There was a time when you were the dependable one, the person who answered calls at 2 in the morning, the friend everyone relied on when their life started falling apart. You listened, you helped, you gave advice, you carried other people's problems like they were your own, and you kept doing it, again and again, even when nothing really changed. People came to you with the same issues, you gave them the same guidance, they ignored it, and then returned with the same story weeks later. Until one day, something inside you shifted. One day the phone rang, and you didn't answer. And surprisingly, nothing terrible happened. The world didn't collapse. In fact, everything suddenly felt quieter. That moment wasn't weakness. It was your brain doing exactly what it was designed to do. Psychologists have a way of explaining this. Your nervous system has several different modes that control how you react to the world around you. One of those modes is designed specifically for protection. When a person has been emotionally drained too many times, when they keep giving more than they receive, the brain eventually steps in. It flips a switch. Instead of constantly engaging with others, it starts conserving energy. From the outside, it can look like withdrawal, like you're shutting people out. But internally, your nervous system is simply protecting a limited resource, your emotional energy. And the truth is, that resource is finite. But this raises an interesting question. Where did your brain learn that people could become exhausting in the first place? For many people, the answer goes back further than they realize. Some of us grew up in environments where we had to read the room constantly. We learned to watch facial expressions, tone of voice, and subtle shifts in mood. Sometimes you could tell how the entire day would go just by the way someone walked through the door. In those kinds of environments, children develop a powerful survival skill: observation. They become extremely good at detecting tension before anyone even says a word. Over time, that ability doesn't disappear. It becomes part of how their brain processes social situations. As adults, those same people often notice patterns that others completely miss. They recognize the friend who only calls when they need a favor. They see the family member whose compliments always come with hidden expectations. They notice the person who gives intense attention in the beginning and then suddenly disappears. After enough experiences like that, something changes. Instead of trying to maintain every relationship, they become selective. And that's where an important distinction appears. There's a difference between isolation and boundaries. Isolation pushes everyone away. Boundaries simply choose who is allowed to stay. And sometimes cutting someone off isn't about anger or revenge. Sometimes it's just clarity. It's realizing that certain relationships consistently drain more energy than they give back. Of course, there's another side to this conversation. Long-term social isolation can have real effects on physical health. Research shows that prolonged loneliness can increase the risk of heart disease and stroke. But here's the part that rarely gets mentioned. Being surrounded by the wrong people can be just as harmful. So the real question isn't whether you should let people into your life. The real question is, which people deserve access to your peace? And chances are, you already know the answer. because people who start distancing themselves from unhealthy relationships usually don't do it randomly. They do it after recognizing patterns. They've watched how certain people behave over time. They've noticed the cycles. And once your brain becomes good at recognizing those patterns, it's very hard to ignore them. In fact, research suggests that people who experienced emotional stress early in life often develop stronger threat detection systems in the brain. In simple terms, their brain becomes extremely skilled at reading social signals. They notice subtle shifts in tone, intention, and behavior,